In recent years, I've noticed something of a nasty habit among the weeb community. No, silly, it's not their refusal to regularly shower that's the problem. Rather, the problem is that whenever a brand new, big-name anime is dropping in the middle of a season, weebs have a tendency to hype it to the moon and back. Usually, it'll be a property that had a rather successful and popular manga run with a great deal of anticipation for an anime adaptation. This usually evolves into an absolute cataclysm of hype that reaches fever pitch whenever the first few episodes of the anime drop. This hyped up series ends up becoming the single greatest piece of kino ever produced, a property that will single-handedly save the anime industry, or words to that hyperbolic effect. Then the hype ends up dying down about halfway through this series' run, and the next best thing that single-handedly saved anime is kind of forgotten about by most people, up until the next season drops at least. Maybe I get led easily by hype. It's not like anything bad has ever come from mob mentality after all, but I often find myself just a little bit disappointed whenever these amazing, super awesome series drop.
What type of thing is it?
Mad stuff. It's very immoral, Jim. You wouldn't like it.
Is it a type of nudie thing?
You wouldn't believe the amount of nudity in it.
Not that I thought these series that I watched were bad or anything, or that I regret giving my time to them, it's just, well, few people can overhype a series in the way weebs can. And so, naturally, I'm very happy to say that Chainsaw Man was everything I'd been led to believe it would be. It blew my goddamn mind.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
Chainsaw Man is undoubtedly the most popular work of Tatsuki Fujimoto, an up-and-coming mangaka and the most literally me man alive who has made insane quotes such as the following.
A dangerously insane human being.
It's set in a world roughly similar to our own in terms of time period, but with one major difference: the existence of devils who are all modeled off of human fears. These man-eating monsters pose an existential threat to the entire human race and come in a variety of different forms, such as the zombie devil, or the bat devil, or the YouTube devil. Better watch out for that one. It'll change the rules at random and demonetize your content whenever it feels like it. It's against this backdrop of a monster-filled world that we meet our main character, Denji, and I have to say, he's probably one of my favorite protagonists in recent memory.
俺たちにおとなしく殺されねえか。
やだ。
Denji is a wholesome good boy who finds himself in the unenviable position of having to kill devils to pay off his dead dad's debt. Finally, a relatable anime protagonist. I've been in this position too, but they haven't caught me yet. At the start of the series, Denji is kind of in dire straits. He's only barely making ends meet to pay off the debt, and he's had to sell off an eyeball and a ball to try and keep things going. But it's not all bad, I guess. Denji does have his trusty pupper by his side, a chainsaw dog named Pochita. But things take a bit of a negative turn for both Denji and Pochita when Denji's boss/owner makes a deal with the zombie devil, who ends up turning the old man and his Yakuza underlings into a group of zombies, who, in turn, kill Denji and Pochita. The dog didn't even make it through one episode? Did Araki write this? Of course, this isn't the end of the series, it'd be kinda short in that case. Rather, Pochita somehow manages to merge with Denji's remains, replacing his heart and giving him new life. With one major difference this time around. Denji now has a ripcord in his chest, and when he pulls on it, he transforms into this. If you're anything like me, then odds are you used to doodle in your notebooks during school, and in that case, we've all likely drawn something that looks a little bit like the titular Chainsaw Man. The idea of a dude who has weapons for hands and another weapon coming out of his face is the kind of ridiculous juvenile character design that I'm really all for these days. It's rad as hell. Soon after transforming into Chainsaw Man and transforming his former boss into a pile of meat on the floor, Denji finds himself approached by Makima, a representative of public safety, the government department that deals with devil attacks. It's at this point that Denji falls victim to one of the oldest vices in human history, simping. Makima gives him an ultimatum. He can either work for public safety or die then and there. And Denji, hoping for even the vaguest chance to subscribe to Makima's OnlyFans, gladly pledges his service to her. The series transitions towards Denji working with public safety to kill devils, and it's at this point that we get to see the rest of the supporting cast gradually introduced. And many of them are interesting and rather solid in their own right, just don't go getting too attached to any of them.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
There's Aki, the stoic black-haired deuteragonist who is almost mandatory in any shonen series these days, but with the main difference being that Aki is actually kind of cool and funny. Then there's Power, who is smelly and awful and great.
The toilet? I'm the type who seldom flushes my feces.
You know, fun fact, but Fujimoto apparently based Power's personality off of Cartman from South Park, so have fun with that information going forward. Then there's Kobeni, who is incredibly lame, and yet also kind of a Chad at the same time. I'm not sure how she pulled that off, but let's let her have her cool moments. Her life is awful, let's just, you know, be a little nice to her, I guess. And then there's Himeno, who is just... she's just so lovely, and I'm sure the Japanese fandom appreciates her a whole lot too.
Bruh.
Japan, I'm willing to tolerate a lot of weird takes when it comes to your popularity polls, but I am drawing a line in the sand here. Given what an important character she is in the story, I should probably mention Makima in some detail as well, but we don't talk about Makima. Although I will say I do appreciate Denji's dedication to his gaslighting, gatekeeping girl boss of an employer. The cast of Chainsaw Man consists of a lot of big personalities, each of whom is interesting in their own right, and none of them ever end up feeling like the kind of stock characters you'd find in most other anime. Even when Fujimoto ventures into more tropey territory, it has to be said that he finds a way to put a nice little spin on things. Denji, for instance, plays into a lot of the tired, pervert anime character tropes. Let me just say outright that I ordinarily hate that archetype because it's like the same two jokes all the time with little to no variation. And so, given that Denji's character motivation early on is that he really wants to touch some boobs, it would have been very easy for him to fall into that same pitfall, but naturally, that's not quite the case. Because, well, Fujimoto went to great pains early on to establish how absolutely awful Denji's life had been and that he's a maladjusted weirdo, so it's sort of like, you know what, given how terrible your life has been, you do you, man. Find happiness however you can. For as much as I like the characters of this series, I feel it's not the main thing we should be focusing on. Oh no, with a name like Chainsaw Man, we're all here to talk about the action, which is amazing and gnarly as hell. It's a series that's focused heavily on fast-paced and bloody action, where the very nature of Denji's powers ends up tearing his enemies to shreds in every single fight.
To shreds, you say?
I do have to admire the simplicity of it. This isn't a series where fights are dictated by 1,000,001 seizure-inducing laser beams. Nor is it one where characters use ridiculously complex and esoteric abilities that don't make any real sense no matter how many times they're explained out loud. No, rather, this is a series where this bad guy has swords coming out of his arms, and if he hits you with them, you die. Bravo, Vince. I say this as someone who has JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as one of his favorite anime of all time, but yeah, sometimes it's nice to just have really simple, kinetic fight scenes. There's a real spectacle to much of the fighting going on in Chainsaw Man, largely because the fight choreography is really solid to begin with, but it's also further enhanced by how on point MAPPA was when it came to animation. Those dudes handling the animation, well, they deserve a round of applause. This is with the caveat, of course, that there has been discussions of MAPPA relying heavily on crunch. I won't get too deep into the workers' rights discussions, but I will just say that if there was any crunch or mistreatment going on, well, that's not cool.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
You can have a quality product and treat your workers decently, but that's a lesson that a lot of the entertainment industry is really bad at understanding. But at any rate, if you're in the market for something that's tightly paced, well animated, funny, and has great action, Chainsaw Man is most definitely up your alley. The body of content they've put out for Season 1 is pretty solid all around, and you'll certainly have plenty of time to catch up on it before Season 2 drops, whenever that'll be. My guess it'll probably be around the time Attack on Titan's final season Part 93 drops. But, as I implied earlier, I don't really mind waiting if it's for a quality product, and something tells me that the next season of Chainsaw Man is gonna be something phenomenal.